Okay, sir. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I welcome Dr. Shreesth Shabra, sir, respected dignitaries and RFI officers, and all the participants. This is a 10 days FDP on step by step how to write good research papers. So today our topic is research design and sampling. It is given by our expert Dr. Shreesth Shabra, sir. So let's start the session. I just want to introduce our expert. So I say just some words about sir. Dr. Shreesth Chabra sir holds a PhD degree in labor welfare. He has a teaching experience of almost 21 years, wherein he taught at undergraduate, postgraduate, executive programs, PhD coursework level, and guided research projects. In his present assignment, he is associated as associate professor with Delhi College Business School, Indore, and affiliate College of De Montfort University, UK. He has published in national and international journals, conference, and Delhi. He is associated as reviewer with Global Journal of Labour, University of the Witwatersrand, South Africa, Web of Sciences, Journal of HRM, Science Publishing Group, New York, USA, General Press, India, Case Focus Journals, UK, Common Ground, Research Network, University of Illinois Research Park, USA, and International Management Conference, ASE, Bucharest. As member of editorial board, he is associated with Annual of Human Resource Management Research, Indonesia, International Journal of Science and Management Studies, Universal Journal of Business and Management USA, and International Journals of Academic Research and Development. He is working as a mentor with Startup India, a government of India platform for nourishing entrepreneurship. Second one, Incubation Center backed by Government of Chhattisgarh, and as coordinator Indore Zone, Malwa and Nimar, Research Foundation of India and member of Asia Research News, IFERP and INSC. He has been session chair in national and international conferences. He has conducted MDP for IMA, MSME, State Electricity Board, Police, and other corporates as well. Rotary Club, Amity Business School, EMG, SSN, Trust, and Institute of Scholars have recognized his efforts and contributions. So welcome, sir. I kindly request you please come and share your knowledge on research design and sampling. Please, sir.
Thank you, Dipti ma'am, and thank you, Ajay Jain sir, for giving me this opportunity again. I'm really very sorry to all the participants that owing to okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I wanted to thank Ajay Jain sir and Dipti ma'am you for the kind introduction, and RFI for giving me this opportunity, and all the participants who are present over here. A big thank you to everyone, all of you. Uh, so probably that day we could not complete our session because of poor connectivity. So I would try and get things for you today to the best in the best possible manner. So before I proceed, Kanika Thakur ma'am, you have raised your hand. Any issues you want to address? Kanika ma'am?
No, sir, I have no issue.
Okay.
I just
Okay,
Yes, and
I thought, ma'am, that there is some issue to be addressed or some concern. That is the reason why you have shared, you raised your hand. No issues. Okay, so I start with my screen sharing. Uh, okay, is my screen visible? Is the
Yes,
PPT?
sir.
no, 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 sir.
Okay, 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 please. Is it visible now?
Um,
Just
yes, sir. Yes,
yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
Now it would be. So okay, so that is what we were talking about, research design and sampling. So I would, without taking much of your time, would start directly. You understand that research design is an outline. Okay, before, like, say, we are trying to draw a map as to what exactly we are going to do and how we are going to present the research. How we are talking about this thing. What would be, we are talking about the nitty-gritties as to what you would be doing, how would we be doing, uh, what type of data we would be needing, how we would be collecting that data. We are talking about the entire, keeping the almost the entire objectives of research in mind. We are trying to draw a, a blueprint of as to how we are going uh, about the research. So that's where, or that's how we are talking about research design, as to how we are trying to, how we plan our research. So research design would help you bring in more clarity. Now, before I dig deeper into research design, let me give you an idea of the thing. See, whether it may be a research paper or it may be maybe your thesis, in either ways. Please understand one thing, or I give you one idea to look into it. Try and work backwards in the sense that, you know like, say, you have fixed up and you have picked up a topic, a research topic, which might have, you might have derived it from research gaps. I'm pretty sure that, earlier, people would have, my fellow colleagues would have clarified this thing to you, that as to how to pick up a research topic. So you can pick up from a research gap that you might have identified through review of literature or any other sources you might have. I'm not dwelling more upon that. So you have already picked up a research topic. Now, after you have picked up a research topic, try and draw in your what I should say, a mental map as to what exactly, or a larger framework as to what research you would like to conduct. I'm not talking about the outcome of the research. No, I'm talking about that as to what larger research you would like to conduct. Try and draw that mental map. The more clarity you would have, the better you would be, the better you would be settled in that thing. Let's take an example. What I mean by a mental map. Like, say, s- though it is overdone, I'm still using this example. You're talking about impact of COVID on anything, say, on economy, on person's job, or how has COVID increased gig economy, or some anything you are talking about. Say, for example, this is just one example that I'm talking about, or how COVID has changed the working pattern in an organization, or, like, say, work from home. What is the impact of work from home uh, after COVID? So, what is the impact of work from home on employee satisfaction, say, for example, or what is the impact of post COVID impacts on consumer satisfaction? Anything, pick up anything. Would you like to suggest me some topic, in any simple topic which everyone can understand, so that I can use that as an example to show, to probably demonstrate you that how, what do I mean by a mental map?
it itself is easy, sir. Impact of COVID.
Impact of COVID is easy.
Easy, na.
Okay, okay. So I continue
Every,
with this example.
everyone knows it.
Okay, okay, great, great. So I continue with this example. So say, for example, you want to research upon that owing to lockdowns, work from home was introduced. Now you want to research on two ideas. One has to still are still is still some companies there besides IT companies who are continuing with work from home. That may be one of your objectives. Or other objective can be what is the impact of say work from home on employee satisfaction, say, or employee health, whatever the case may be. So what all you think shall I include in this research paper if this is the research I am doing? Say impact of COVID on employee satisfaction, or impact of work from home on employee satisfaction. Say, let's put it this way. So what all you think I should be including in while writing this research paper? Yes, please. Say, for example, I should write largely in introduction. I'm just trying to draw a simple thing for you. What I should write in introduction? I should be writing in introduction that what do I mean by work from home, how COVID changed the scenario. It has been 3 years now. What is the present scenario from work from home? So this is how largely my introduction should look like. Then I'm talking about, say, now I'm talking about say any previous research which has been done. So maybe review of literature which has been already been done on work from home and employee satisfaction. Then I'm talking about my research design, that what data I have collected, how I have collected this data, what questionnaire or method of data collection have I used in this, the author has used in this research paper, for example. And then what, obviously, if you have used a questionnaire, then if you are using a questionnaire, then there would be a data, then there would be an analysis and interpretation, and then there would be a conclusion. Is it? Are you able to get my example?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. So that's how, largely we would be making a mental map as to what exactly I am planning to do in my research. This is my example as to how you can make up a mental map as to how you can, what you can actually draw, or how you can look it from a research perspective. If I am not using a data, I am doing a desk research, or I am using secondary sources only, I am writing a bibliometric paper, then probably I can, I can mold it from after research design, and then I can go beyond that. So that's how, that's how I can largely draw a mental map as to what research idea or what exactly, would be the content of it. Similar mental map, you can draw it in a bigger way when it comes to your thesis. Okay. So in a paper, we draw a mental map which is more concise in nature, because obviously the length is concise. We are considering only few objectives. In a thesis, probably you consider more objectives. So obviously the research design, obviously the mental map would be a larger one. So that's how largely you would draw. It's always advisable that you draw a mental map of the research, trying to look into, what can be the possible way I can do this research, or I can approach this research. That is deciding wherein good research design can help you. Okay. So keep the research design simple, non-complicated, and these are 4 general characteristics of a research design, which I would like to share with you. Let your biasness not influence the research. You might have a bent of mind towards a certain thing. Let that not, let that not create any disturbance, or let that not create any influence on the way you design the entire research. I give you an example for that. At one point of time, one of my director of institution, he thought that people who smoke are the one who, who are non-reliable persons. He had a great aversion towards smoking, and he felt that people who smoke are characterless. Okay, to that extent he believed that. Do you feel so? That character has got something to do with smoking habit?
It affects a little.
It affects a little, ma'am, but there is no, proven study, or there is no proven way to tell you that people who smoke are characterless. Okay, so what I'm trying to talk to you is the idea that if you believe in this thing that people who smoke are characterless, and if, say, for example, if you are doing any research on impact of smoking, then your entire research design would be drifted in that way to think that people who, you would try and bring that outcome in the picture that people who smoke are characterless. You try and establish those type of things. So biasness of the researcher is a great harm that a research can bear with. Okay, so please make sure that you are not trying to influence your ideas or look through your mirror. Okay, be, accept the free flow, on that thing. Let the data suggest you things. Reliability is that uh, something which is okay. If you repeatedly measure something, the result would be more or less the same thing. Okay, like, say, for example, I give you a simple example. Since you are talking about COVID, we all had used those oximeters. Okay, put it the finger on in an oximeter and used and looked into the SpO2 levels. Okay, during COVID, we all have done that. And how much will that vary? It would vary the least. If I take repeated readings into an oximeter, the chances are that if the oximeter is right, it would vary the least. So that's the reliability of the instrument. So in a research, if you are using an instrument, or if you are using any, say, questionnaire or anything, then it should be, even after repeated measurements, it should deliver the similar result. Okay, so that's where the reliability comes in research. To be valid, you are measuring what exactly you are trying to measure. At times, please understand this thing, what I mean by this validity. At times, what happens that, especially while we are designing a questionnaire, it happens to us that we tend to ask certain questions without knowing that what this question would lead to. Okay. For example, let me give you an example to you. For example, say that if I am measuring anxiety, then what are the chances that, or say, for example, if I'm measuring depression, what are the chances that I may slip into measuring anxiety? Or I may tend to ask questions which may not exactly measure depression, but it is more indicative of anxiety. Okay. So try and look into that thing. If you are unwell, you visit a doctor, you would be asking certain, doctor would be asking you certain question. If this happens or that happens, he would ask you certain question. If you visit a homeopathic or an Ayurvedic doctor, he would ask you more questions to establish, that what exactly is the problem. So you should be very clear in what question you are asking and why you are asking that question to the respondent. So, research design can be validated if it measures what it is intended to measure. And obviously, generalization. I would come to this point as we move ahead with my, the next part of it. So, I would be talking generalization onto that thing, or in connection with that thing. So, we understand that there are three types of research design. So, I would take you quickly through each one of them. Descriptive designs. Descriptive designs are more intended to measure what, what they are, what is established already, and you are just trying to evaluate that thing. Say, for example, you are trying the example that we just took, that how work-life balance is impacted by, say, work from home, employee satisfaction, consumer satisfaction, anything like that. Okay, so any study which is more into, which is descriptive in nature. Descriptive in the nature means it describes what is the status of that variable or that particular thing in the present in the present situation, that is where the descriptive research comes in. Okay, so for example, let's take an example of this descriptive research. Say for example, you want to do a comparative analysis between two variables, so that can be a part of thing. You want to say do a research based on say two variables can be, say many people do it. We do many researches based on income, based on occupation, based on say gender. So any such research wherein the comparative can be set in, or you want to draw relationships between say income and investment patterns. Finance people generally do such type of research. So income and investment pattern. So that can again be set in as to what type of research or how you are trying to measure that, or how you are trying to look into that type of a variable. Any doubts or any questions till this point? Shall I continue if there are no doubts?
No, sir.
Okay. So what can be the different types of case study descriptive researches? So we start with the first one, the case study method. Remember, I spoke about generalization. The one of the four characteristics of research design, I spoke about generalization. Generalization is an idea wherein you talk about this idea that to the extent the research that you have done can be, does have an external validity. That means, can I apply it to other situations? The point and problem with case study research design is that it can help you give a in-depth knowledge of a certain organization, of a particular industry, of a particular person. Like say we all do such type of case studies in entrepreneurship courses or any other courses wherein we talk about do organization need management. We do all case studies in management or in social sciences. So this may be very, this case studies may have a limited generalizations. Specifically, if you are doing more of a case-based methods, I do come across certain papers which talk about employee satisfaction at Tata Limited, or employee customer preference over this brand, taking particular brand, something like that. So anything like this would give you obviously a in-depth knowledge of a particular company or a particular individual or the case maybe on which this case study is written. But it would fail to deliver you a generalized idea. What may be true with Tatas, what may be true with Ambani's or Birlas cannot be generalized over a period of time. Say, for example, you have got Tata Business Excellence Model. This is an excellence model. This is a guiding reference point for all businesses. No, not only this is what Tata's have. This excellence model is something which Tata has made it, and they have delivered that excellence in their business. So anyone, this is open for reference to anyone. But this may be more of a case study in that idea that this has got, you cannot generalize everyone, and you cannot generalize it to anyone. So similarly, success and failures are also non-general in nature. Okay. So this is one question which I keep asking to people. How many people who fill petrol on a petrol pump went on to become Dhirubhai Ambani?
No, sir.
No one, no one.
Only Dhirubhai Ambani.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
So that's what the case is. So that's where case study. I hope you got my example. So that's where case study examples are, and a type of a limitation of generalization which can occur with a case study.
Sir,
Yes,
sir, can we tell like this? If how that Dhirubhai Ambani did
yes,
in his life, if you do like that, you can somewhat become like Dhirubhai
absolutely
Ambani.
yes, absolutely yes. See, that's where, if you remember, that's where that's the reason why we teach case studies, sir.
Yeah.
That's the reason we take up case studies in the class, to demonstrate that by doing so or
Ah,
by not doing so, you can become successful.
uh-huh.
So
Yes, sir.
so we try to draw a generalization, but
Ah,
that's where my point is, that
ah,
at times case studies might have a very limited type of a generalization. It
generalization.
will not
Okay.
be applicable to everyone. They cannot have a universal idea.
Okay, sir. Okay, okay.
That,
Thank you,
that
sir.
that's the limitation. That's the
Fine,
limitation.
fine, fine, sir. Okay.
Okay, okay, sir. So we now move on to cross-sectional studies. Cross-sectional studies is similar thing, that you draw a stratified group. Stratified group means you are, you have got a characteristic which is distinctly identifiable well between two groups whom we are conducting the research on. Like say for example, gender. So gender can be classified. Uh, Say income. So either you can belong to one income group or you can belong to another income group, so something like that, or occupation. So you have to pick up those variables which are more of in doing a cross sectional study, you are trying to pick up a stratified group. And I already told you, stratified group uh, is more of a group with the distinctive characteristics, okay, which are identifiable. So obviously, cross-sectional studies can be a good comparison thing. So if you want to do a comparison, cross-sectionals are somewhat more, something which should be looked upon, or they are more preferred upon in a cross-sectional studies. Now I come on to a qualitative method of looking into it. Now let me explain this idea to you, and then I look for explain this qualitative study to you. Let me explain this idea to you, the qualitative study. At times, specifically if you are doing an exploratory study, plus at times it may be an idea that you like say we all know how to write inferences. What is the data? Probably any questionnaire can help you with what is the data. But the problem is, why is this data? Why is there a difference between these genders, or why is that say males prefer a certain type of a perfume as compared to females? You can take any example. Why is there a difference between a contractual and a permanent employee? So you can take n number of examples and you can go ahead with these examples. The bigger question would be that, as a researcher, or as your research contribution should be, and rather must be, to tell that why there is a difference between the variables. In order to explain why there is a difference between the variable or amongst the variables, if you have picked up more than two variables, then you need to know that what describes this difference. So either you can make up a questionnaire which also tries and capture that data as to why this difference in the variables. But my experience says that then the questionnaire would become too lengthy in nature. Okay. And probably we all understand that nobody answers such lengthy questionnaires. Then how should I capture this why? Or how should I look into this why? The probably one of the ideas of capturing this why, or one of the easy methods of capturing this why, according to me, would be that you conduct maybe a semi-structured or a structured interview. Though this can be a differential idea altogether in data collection, I'm not going on to that thing as of now. I'm not letting you into data collection. No, I'm just trying to give you an idea as to that how qualitative studies can help you, along with a quantitative method, can help you. If no, you're not, if you're not conducting an exclusively qualitative study, how it can help you, say, do certain research, or certain ideas that can be inferred from things which can be drawn differently. Okay, like say for example, I give you an example for this. One of my students, while doing a research on brand preference, she drew up she drew up pics from commercials, or stills from commercials, as a part of her questionnaire study, and went on to ask, say, that can you recognize this picture, or which picture is easy for you to recall, something like that. And it happens generally that along with, so people would say one or one, not one or certain. And as a part of the second, as a second part of the research, she went on to ask people certain questions, not more than 5 questions she asked, to describe their experience with the brand. Okay, they were free to say anything that they wanted. Such type of researchers which are, this is my experience, such type of researchers which are a blend of qualitative and quantitative methods, they, according to me, would give you a better insight into the research. They would help you derive that why is this data. Okay, so why is this data, that would be specifically, and specifically I again come to that point. If you are doing an exploratory research, you would come to that aspect also. Qualitative researchers or qualitative studies would, such narratives would help you decide, develop an insight into a data. This has been my experience into research, that if you are doing a study wherein it is, say for example, you want to know more about it, or you want to, take a better idea into it, uh, such type of studies can be a better way of looking on to this thing. Exploratory study. So let's get on to that thing. Some areas or some things which may be quite, new for you. You are still undergoing a way to look into it. You are still, not able to see that, okay, what can be the impact of this thing. There is no established data. There is no reliable secondary resources which can, which can prove this thing, that okay, X is equal to Y, or say for example A is equal to B. That if this happens, say for example, we know that providing more money would motivate people, yes or no? In general, I am asking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Sir.
Okay, so how do you know that?
Because we have observed.
You might have observed it, researchers have suggested you. Even if you conduct a research, people would generally give this answer to you, things like that. So it's more or less established idea. Okay, so if I want to conduct a research onto it, that does more money provides more satisfaction, or employee are more satisfied because of increase in salary, then you can, this research would be easy for me to do, because there is an already established area or established way of looking at it. What would be the impact of chat GPT on teachers, on all of us?
It is to be explored.
That's great, sir. That's so I hope you are now you are able to get my example.
Yeah,
That
yes,
is
sir.
where you need an exploration. There are
Yes, sir.
some studies, there are some hunches, better I should say, rather than using this. There are some hunches, there are some estimations, okay, where people are trying to estimate that this probably could be the new AI scenario in the life or in the world. If everything could have been predicted, life would have become here far more easy or far more, detrimental in nature. But that doesn't happen. You live on an exploration, or we all look forward to an exploration, and probably we're trying to establish a relationship between, say, AI and nature of job, or how AI would change the nature of job, something like that. So for example, that there can be no there can be so we need to understand the dimensions of it. Okay, we need to understand the various dimensions of it, and how these dimensions can help us establish a research parameter. Okay, so many things might have come up during, COVID, like say how baldness can impact on you getting a COVID. So that is established. So you have got, you need to, so what can be the exploration, what can be the limit of exploration? No limits. But then how should I decide that whether I'm exploring in the right track or not? How can I decide upon that? Say for example, I want to do a research on the size of window of library and its impact on the, say, availability of students, or say, or the what should I say, the size of window of library and its impact on students sitting in library. I want to establish that if the size of the window are bigger in library, more and more students would sit in library, and or their time to sit in library would increase. How do you feel about this idea of research?
Lighting,
Sorry, sir.
lighting will come inside, and they can be happy.
So I can still go on and do something about it. But you actually feel that that size of window has got an impact on the what should I the way the students, the frequency of the students visiting library, or they would sit more in the library. Do you actually feel that this would, there would be some, I can establish a strong relationship between the two?
No,
So
not
it's all
that
it's
clear.
an exploration.
It is not established, sir. It is
I
not.
see, the point that I'm trying to make is simple.
Ah.
If you're trying to connect between, if you're trying to draw between two variables which are less likely to be connected, okay, I'm not saying that they are not connected. Tapas sir, you made a right point that it can create more light, so more
Ah.
light can impact different. Agreed,
Yes.
absolutely agreed.
Yeah.
No denying that, but I may not be able to establish
Ah.
a relationship, a strong relationship between these two factors. Remember that Hawthorne study experiment in HR? Remember those MBA days when we talked about that impact of lighting on productivity, impact of this thing on that. So
Ah.
please remember this thing, that whatever you are trying to explore, please set up a logical connection.
Yeah.
If
Yes.
I do understand that there may not be enough data to establish this logical connection, but at least have some data to establish this logical connection. Exploration does not means that you go anywhere to search for things. Please don't do that. We are not doing an Antarctica research type. Okay, we are not doing a deep sea water research. Please understand this thing. Specifically in social sciences, in many ideas, things are, there should be some logical idea onto this thing. If I want to do a research that, okay, one of my objective is this. Say if I want to say that, okay, what impacts the propensity of the student to visit library, for example, and one of the factor that I am considering is the light, then I am okay. Okay, I'm considering other factors as availability of book resources and other things like that. So still I can, I can go ahead and do something on that. Otherwise, this idea will not be, I don't know how much would you be able to explore, and how many people would be interested in your research. One of my bosses commented on one thing, that's Shrestha, go ahead and do your research on the cat's tail, and nobody bothers about it. So are we, trying to explore a cat tails? The answer may be no. Okay. Some people may do it just because it is easier to explore a cat tail, but don't do that. Okay. So I'm not saying that, we do research, whatever research, but remember our citations. You might be looking on to that thing, that research gets cited. So our citation scores would increase only if we are trying to establish relationship between the variables which actually mean something. Only then probably people would take our research into consideration. So that is what I was talking to you. Say, for example, in an experimental research, you have got, you can divide people into two groups. Say, for example, uh, let's take an example. As I believe people who are attending over here, more of them are teachers, my fellow colleagues.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
great. Can I do a research between attendance and result, passing result? That means I want to establish a hypothesis that if people who attend more of classes, or people with higher attendance percentage, their chances of getting a pass mark or their chances of scoring high are also high.
Yes, sir.
What do you feel? What does your data from your experience suggest?
It's right, sir.
So if it is right, sir, this is right because you might have observed it from an experimental research design. Say, for example, we might have we have got data of people who are less attentive or who are less who are whose attendance, physical presence, at least in physical presence also in the class is less. And their result we have result of people who have say above 75, 90 or any percentage, higher percentage of attendance and their result. So what we are exactly doing, we are creating a control group and a test group. Okay. And the variable which we are studying is the attendance. So based on that, we are trying to demark on this idea that people, and that's the reason why we can probably establish this thing or try, this is, this is something which you can talk about, that wherein attendance, the impact of attendance on result. And I would definitely like some of you to actually do a research on this basis based on the data which is available already with you. Okay. So based on a research which is available with you, secondary data, you can put in some, you have got different data with you of certain students whose attendance was good, whose result. So you would have attendance and result data of the students, past students. So probably say for over a period of 5 years, you analyze it and use this research not only for the benefit of others, but also for the benefit of your institution, especially during induction program or time and again, to demonstrate to students that how attendance has got an impact on, what should I say, a natural impact. I'm not trying to make up this impact, but this is what research suggests from the last 5 years data or from the last 10 years data of this institution, that if this is so, this is what would happen. Okay, so probably some research like that. So plan a research, I would suggest you that plan a research something like that. So probably you can establish this thing, that this is what happens in an experimental design. So when any faculty from the HR area attending this thing? Any faculty from human resources background in the cohort which is attending today? No, I believe none is from human resources. Okay, no issues.
No, sir.
Sir, we are from commerce.
Okay.
So we study human resource, one of the subjects.
Great, sir. So my point was that, to simplify that idea, that, people can have a different idea when we talk about training, impact of training or effectiveness of training effectiveness. So we can always have a pre-post analysis, and that's where the impact or effectiveness of training can be understood or can be measured. So that can be another area wherein this experimental research design can be of help. So that's what I conclude this by saying that we can always have a mixed design combination. I just told you that how qualitative and a quantitative combination can be a good thing if you actually want to learn what by this data. To write your inferences, you should have some material with you. Qualitative research, maybe a semi-structured type of an interview, or understanding it from what should I say, understanding it from the candidate himself or herself, would give you a good insight onto uh, the data. Specifically, if you are doing any type of a behavioral research, okay, why do you use this brand? What are, what can be this thing? See, even well-designed, very well-designed questionnaires may not be able to capture all the required information. If they do capture, I'm not saying that questionnaires are not designed well. They are actually, yes. If you are using a standard questionnaire, they would obviously be yes. Then, if you use too lengthy a questionnaire, people may not be interested in answering most of your questions. Okay, or most of the people may not be answering your questionnaire. It's always better that we go on to a combination of designs that we use a bit of qualitative and a quantitative. So know the both side of the story. So that's where this thing can help. Any questions till this point? Any questions, anyone till this point?
Sir, is there any format for different researchers for research design?
Uh,
For descriptive, different cross-sectional.
G.
Is there any difference in research design, sir?
Yes, sir. Sir, which research design you are using based on that thing. Say for example, if I am doing a study on, say, employee satisfaction at Tata's, say for example.
Sir.
So essentially, I am using a descriptive method of research design, and in descriptive, I am using a case study method.
Achha, sir.
So that's how we are talking about this, sir.
Okay, sir.
So that's how I'm, I would be using my research design.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. So if I'm talking about a less tread path, so that would be more of an, say for example, that would be more of a, exploratory design. If I want to compare between a test and control group types, that people who were given this facility, people who were not given this facility. Say for example, I want to I want to look into this thing that I give you another example to probably to do a research upon. All colleges, they take certain initiatives to improve the employability of the students. Specifically, if you are an engineering college or if you are in, say, a management college, you would be doing certain one or the other measures to improve the employability. Okay, to improve the placements.
Yes, sir.
Placement of the students.
Placements of the students.
Have you ever conducted any research to know that which method has actually helped in improving the employability of the student? Say for example, I give you an example. Say that you are talking about, you are conducting a GDPI session. You are the training and placement of your department, placement department. They conduct say a training on how to face GDs. What has been the impact of how of this training of GD and PI training on the actual performance of the students? Have they actually benefited out of it? Or say for example, say if English is a question mark, so and you are planning English improvement classes. So have you ever tested on this thing, that to what extent English improvement classes has got an impact on the placement of the students? Anything like that. Okay. So people who were given English classes, people who were not given English classes, or people who were attending English classes regularly, people who were not attending English classes. So what is the difference between these two data? So in anything like this can be, see, always remember that we think of, I give you an example. See, at times the data is around us. Okay. We can obviously look into that data from a different perspective, and this perspective can be useful for us if we are an administrator. If I'm an administrator, I'm a placement officer, I'm a director, or anyone, this data can be useful to me. This data can be useful to any people who are by and large, say for example, the administrators or directors or placement officers or anyone who are with this thing. This data is equally beneficial for students, such type of researchers. So you can look out from a various stakeholders point of view and do such researches from the data which is already available to you. You just have to capture that data and create a meaningful correlation between those data. And here you are, your research would be giving an insight. Like say we were talking about how attendance and say for example how attendance or regularity has got an impact on the result. So how attendance and results are connected. So such type of data can be very helpful tool, not only in your decision making or your institutional decision making, but it can also, so look about it. How many benefits you can reap in? You would have a research publication, you would have, this data can be shared with your principal, with your, if you yourself are a director, or your parents, your students, all of them, all stakeholders, they would be actually immensely benefited out of this data. So please, the data is already available with.
चाय पीनी है?
मल्होत्रा जी, मुझे भी पिला दीजिए.
Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir.
अरे नहीं मल्होत्रा जी, absolutely not. Okay.
Sorry.
I was, feeling very happy that somebody at least thought about having a tea in the evening. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm really.
अरे नहीं, please मल्होत्रा जी, please don't be. आप और मैं colleagues हैं मल्होत्रा जी, ठीक है? We are no different on that thing.
I don't know how I made this mistake. The microphone.
अरे absolutely not. Please. I took it as an invitation.
Sir, certainly, sir. Someday we'll have tea together, sir.
Sure. So how can you choose this research design? Okay, which design would be appropriate? So I believe I have given you sufficient example to make you think over that, based on what type of data, what type of research, what type of established ideas you have got, and based on that, you can obviously choose a design. So now I come to the last part, or the last leg of my presentation today, when we talk about sampling and sampling distribution. The most important question that everyone wants to know is that, what is the number which is appropriate? Let me start with that thing, that, what is the sample size which is appropriate? Okay. How much sample size should I pick in? Okay. Or how much sample size should I log in, so that this research becomes an appropriate research? Let me answer this question not very directly, because this question does not have a direct answer. Some people say that, sir, 600 to 700 sample size, you can do a PhD. Very good. Yes, you can. Oh, that's how you want to do it. So how much should I pick up for my research paper? I believe 100 or 50 or 70 or 80. No, I'm confused on that thing. That how should I justify that out of this much population, I am picking up this much numbers. So how do I justify that this is the number? Okay. So let me answer you first this question, or let me start with this question in mind, and then we look into other nitty-gritties of sampling or sampling tools. So I take you towards this idea first, and then we talk about this. So, how should I decide on the sample size? Okay. Obviously, if you are doing a research on a niche market, or if you are doing a research something on something which is quite smaller in nature, then probably it's always advisable that you do the entire, you do the entire census. That means you count everyone. Okay. So that is the most important thing. Second, what topic you have got on your hand. Okay. So that means, if I want to do a research on, say, what should I say? On, say, probably I'm choosing a topic on drugs. Okay. That how consumption of drug has got an impact on career of youth. Say, for example, I want to do such type of a research. Then obviously my sampling design would be different. I would come to that part later. And you understand that thing, it would be difficult for me to find out more samples on the drug addicts. Okay, so there may not be a very large data on drug addicts. So I can probably choose a rehabilitation center or anything, something like that, the known cases of drugs, people who are into drugs, and then I can draw from there and trying to draw a correlation between drug and their career. So what topic are you choosing? That can also be of help to you. You can use a published, maybe, you can use a published table, something like this, which is available on the net. So this gives you an idea that as to what can be the sample size, or what is the size of the population, and what can be the sample size. So something like that. Okay. Or what you can do is that you use, this is a, this is one of the acceptable way to me, that a similar study, what type of sample have they used into it? Okay, if I draw a reference from a similar study, what is the sample size that they have used into it? Most importantly, I take you one thing. Okay, you can do this certain calculations also to yield on a population number. I talk about this type of idea. See, if I want, I give you an example. I'm doing a research on labor in an industrial area. Okay, and say for example, there are 100 industries in an industrial area. Okay, please listen to this example because there would be questions there. I want to do a research on labor or in a certain industrial area. That industrial area has got 100 companies. Okay, how many companies do you suggest me that I should cover? I hope my question is clear to you.
Repeat, sir.
Shall I repeat my question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure. I want to do a research on labor in an industrial area. This industrial area is around 100 companies. Okay. How many companies do you suggest I should cover in my research? Think over it for a minute and then answer me.
Three to four.
Okay.
No one company suggests.
Sorry, ma'am.
According to basis of performance of companies, we have to select from three from topmost company, three from middle side, and three from the lower side of company.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Go ahead.
Or at least 5 laborers from each company.
Okay, sir. 5 laborers from each company. So that would make it 500.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
excuse me, sir. I
Yes.
think that we have to just define some area. From which area I would like to do that, because
Agreed.
otherwise that it would like the universe हो जाएगा ना. So it should be
Absolutely.
defined like that कि from Maharashtra, from Gujarat, from from district or from
Let me
place.
simplify. Neeta ma'am, let
Okay.
me simplify this
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I'm studying only a particular industrial area.
Okay.
That's it. So I'm very, I'm through in my idea. I'm studying one industrial area.
Sir, we also need to specify
Yes, sir.
which industry are we studying. We can, I mean, from the 100 companies, not all the companies would be engaged in one industry,
Okay.
one trade.
Yes.
So we can also specify which labor from which labor in which industry. Say the 100 companies may not be engaged in say textile.
Absolutely.
And are we going to study make a study regarding the labor in textile industry or some other industry among the 100 companies?
Okay. So based on this,
Sir, according to me, 100 according to me, 10 companies we need to study.
okay,
Because 10% of the sample size we always take of the population.
generally, yes.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah. So probably, ma'am, this can be, this can be an easy answer when it, because, you have got a finite population. Okay. Let me ask you another question. A simple one. Okay. I generally ask simple questions. I want to study the consumer satisfaction level of account holders of SBI. Say, for example, which city you live in? Anyone?
Yellapur.
So Delhi.
Delhi. So Delhi would be a larger area. Some smaller place in Delhi.
So or it could be Gurgaon.
Okay, Gurgaon. Gurgaon would be a smaller place. How many? I want to write a research paper. Please understand this thing. I want to write a research paper on consumer satisfaction of SBI, okay, or any bank. Say, for example, any bank. SBI I have chosen because this is one of the largest banks in branch banking. So SBI or any other bank, you can take any bank in say Gurgaon. How should I go about it? You got my question?
Yes. My topic is e-banking, sir.
Great, sir.
It's very much
Like clustering.
related.
Yes, please. Somebody was saying.
So can we use sampling using clustering?
Great. How very good of you. Can you enlighten us more? Okay, tell us what is cluster sampling?
It's a kind of dividing greater domain into subdomains, grouping, subgrouping.
Okay, so for answering this question, let's let me take you back onto a simple idea, and then we continue with this thing. Okay. How many of you have studied this idea of random and non-random sampling? Or how many of you are clear with this idea of random and non-random sampling? Or shall I explain it to you?
Yes, sir. Random. Actually, we use random. But exactly what is this?
Random and non-random simply.
In random sampling, we can use the lottery method.
Sheetal ma'am, you have raised your hand.
Yes, sir. I've just recently read about random and non-random.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. Please go ahead and contribute.
I think we should go for random in this scenario.
Agreed, ma'am. So to go with a random sample, the essential criteria is that you must have a list based on which you can do a random sampling. Even if, Archana ma'am, you want to do a lottery method or anything like that, you must know what data you have on hand. Okay. So therein,
Yes.
you have got the data on your hand, then you can apply a random sample. Only then probably you can apply a random sample. See, I can study people living in a colony. I can study people living in a multi-storied building or in a society because I would have a list. So if I have got a list, any such where I have got a list available, I can apply a random sample. So this can be the different methods of applying a random sample. Simple random sample, you can pick up through lotteries or anything like that. You can go for a stratified methods. I'm not getting deep into it. Okay, so you can divide people into different strata, and people with differential characteristics. That is what a strata would be like. So, like say you are studying, say you want to compare the board results between people who have majored in mathematics, in commerce, in biology, and in arts. Say for that example. So this can be a stratified sample. Okay, so that can be you can stratify it by age, stratified by any class, anything like that. So person can be in one class but cannot be another class, something like that. You can have a systematic sampling. That means you can pick up a number and that number is repeated. Systematic sampling can be used only when you have got an unbiased list. Someone's mic is on. I would request them to please mute that mic. Someone's mic is on. I request them to please mute that mic. Thank you. Then you can have cluster sampling, what ma'am was just telling us. So what you can do is that if you want to do an area-based study, okay, so you can look forward to cluster-based sample. So now, yes, Sheetal ma'am, now you can go ahead and explain us further how would you do, say, I come back to the same question, customer satisfaction of a certain bank at Gurgaon or at any particular city. Yes, Sheetal ma'am, go ahead.
So maybe
Delhi considered as a state. State can further be clustered in terms of, say, districts, and districts further can be classified in terms of towns. This is how you can cluster and then pick.
You can look up forward to, you can divide that into north, south, east, west types. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, that can be, an agreeable type of thing. The idea is that while you are trying to do the sampling, the idea is that are you capturing the essence of the population? Please understand this thing. My sole idea of explaining this sampling is simple to do that. It's not about a technical idea of, whether I should go with cluster or I should go with non-random, or what I should do. My sole idea of explaining the sampling or sampling technique is simple. Are you able to are you able to capture the essence of the population? That's the entire, that's what, if that answer you have got, then you are done your sampling right. I repeat it. And how I tell you that. Say, for example, I come back to the same thing. I am doing a research between a contractual and a permanent worker. By any means, we can establish that contractual workers would be higher as compared to permanent workers. Say, for example, I am trying to do a research based on age. So my age should be in coincidence with the percentage of reflection of age, different state of reflection of age should be in coincidence with the census which is conducted. So I cannot have, so obviously we understand that we are sitting on the youngest population. So if my data suggests that 50% or 60% of my population is young age, that means I'm in coincidence with the with a generally established norm regarding age. Okay, so that's how, please understand, I repeat on this idea. If you are able to capture the essence of the population, you are doing it right. That's what you have to answer when you are, even as a reviewer. I tell you, as a reviewer also, we ask this question to people, that have you're saying that I don't want to, I won't name the research for you, or the title for you. Say somebody send me a paper that they have studied Philippines. Okay, and the sample that they have picked up is 100. Okay, so obviously, can you justify Philippines with or study on Philippines with a sample of 100? It becomes difficult. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it becomes difficult to justify the entire country with just a population of 100. Okay, then
Really,
how valid your research is, that would be a question mark. That's the reason I'm saying, have you captured the essence of the population? Would you be able to justify? I give you an example. You understand that women are also a part of workforce. Yes.
Yes, sir.
What is the established standard that, how much workforce can you expect from a woman's side, or what would be the composition of workforce when it comes to percentage? Roughly 80-20, 80 males, 22% females. Yes, that is the all India average.
now it is 50-50, sir.
I sincerely doubt, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's the all India average, sir. That's an all India average. I'm not talking about a particular profession. In a particular profession, even, say, for example, sir, in education, probably it would be a higher side of female and less number of males.
Oh,
Or in
yes.
a particularly, in a, say, if I'm studying play schools, it would be more of females, less of males, or hardly any males.
You are right, sir.
So what I'm trying to suggest you that, please look into that thing, that what does the what does the trend suggest, or what does the population in general suggest? If your sampling is going against that, then there would be questions. Okay, if you are saying, if this is the established data, for example, that we 90% of the workforce is a part of unorganized sector. Many researchers read about them. This is what has been established. So roughly 10 to 12% is something, in the organized sector. However, if you are picking up another, thing which is a different type of a sample, that you are suggesting that 90% is organized and 10% is unorganized. How would you defend this research? Probably no way. Okay, there can't be any way to defend this research. I can say that, people say, for example, why I have got a less number of, say, even if I believe that there is 70-30 population between male and female in a workforce, and my data consists only of 20%. Say, I'm telling an example from my own research. My data consists only of 20% of female. So in order to justify that, I had written over there that though the workforce is 70-13 ratio, but as a male researcher, or some females were reluctant to answer certain questions, or some females were reluctant to uh, to answer certain questions to a male researcher. So probably that is then that these are the non-respondent number. So out of this thing, I would have more of male respondents and less of female respondents, maintaining at a ratio of 75-25 or 80-20, still agreeable. That's what I'm saying. Is your research able to carry, or is your research able to capture the essence of the population? If not, you have failed in sampling. Whatever method you of sampling you might have used, whatever tools or techniques of sampling you might have used, you have sincerely failed in sampling. Your research is practically of no use. Okay, so try and look into what is the generally established convention, or what is the generally established idea of research when it comes, or regarding truth regarding the population. Okay, so based on the truth regarding the population, and based on what your research idea is, try and mix the both things, then you would be able to derive something good on sampling. Rest is all, rest is all the technical part of it, that you can look for a random sampling if you have got a list, if you don't have got a list, or there can be certain topics in which probably the list is not applicable. As I give you an example, that you can conduct a research on drugs. So probably you have to, if you are conducting a research on drugs, probably you cannot get a list. Okay, then obviously you have to go through a snowball sample. Okay, that you ask one, then he would lead you to another one, then he would lead you to another one. That's how you gather the mass. So anything like that. So police investigation is more like a snowball sampling. Okay, so that's how they lead on to that thing. So anything like that would be decided later, but you have to think about that. See, if you are looking on to a very heterogeneous type of population in which variability is very high, then the sample size should be very high. If you want to look on to this thing where probably not much heterogeneity exists, your research your research topic is something that you are not studying much of heterogeneity, then probably you should look into uh, less sample size. So remember that thing, that can you defend your sample? You may ask me a question that, sir, do I actually need to defend my, how should I defend my this thing? In a research paper, probably some people may ask you, some people may not ask you. But remember one simple thing I tell you. Whenever you would appear in an interview with some good people, or if you would prepare, if you would present this research in some good conferences, people would definitely question you that how you arrived at this sample, and would this sample be defending enough, or would this sample be justifying your research? Can I say that based on a sample of say 100 people, about can I make a claim of say about 100 people about a certain thing? The answer can be yes, absolutely yes. I can make I can do a sample and of 100 and still make a claim, provided if my sampling has been right. What Sheetal ma'am has just given example, that if you are dividing, say, for the entire city into north, east, west, south, or say into different clusters, which are agreeable clusters, not based on your convenience or not based on your understanding, as per say, for example, as per banking norms, or as per say certain norms, established norms of the industry, if you are dividing that cluster, that would be acceptable. And if you write in your research, probably all answers would be gone regarding that to how you picked up a sample. Would this sample be able to justify? Yes, that would be. The answer is your sample should be able to carry the essence of the paper. That's all from my side. Thank you very much. And you can ask me any questions, or that's all. Uh,
Sir,
Any question? Yes,
sampling, sir. Good evening, sir.
yes, sir. Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Sir, sampling, is it different for different researchers?
Yes, sir. Absolutely, yes. Based on what type of research objectives have you formed, and based
Sir.
on what your research objectives are, and based on what exactly you are studying, you can pick up different type of samples.
Yeah,
Or
yes.
this sampling idea or sampling techniques even can be different.
Sir, you told us, sir, the impact of result
Yes, sir.
on communication. I mean, the impact of communication or English knowledge on result.
Yes. Say
So
on placements. Say on placements.
placement. So we have 700, 1,000 students in our college.
Great, sir.
And then what is the sample size I have to take, sir?
Sir, largely if you have to defend 700 or 1,000 students, probably 200 can be a good sample to conduct a research. Again,
Yeah.
again,
Uh,
again,
uh.
based on that, you are studying it across you are doing some cross-sectional study. Say this 1,000 students, how are these 1,000 students distributed? Say, for example, this 1,000 students are distributed in 4 courses.
Yeah, sir.
So are you taking representatives from all the 4 courses?
BA, BCom, BSc, like that.
Yes.
Yeah, sir.
Then that would be, you would be able to justify this research better.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
you
sir.
so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir,
Good evening, Rachna, ma'am.
as you told, sir, it is better to do quantitative and qualitative research together. So how we can do both together?
Ma'am, it is simple that you can design a questionnaire to capture the data, and probably you can ask the respondent few questions. If you feel your research is in that direction, if you feel, see, if your research topics are simple, you may not need a great insight into the data, it's okay, you may not go for a qualitative research. But if you feel that you need to know the why also of this data, and your questionnaire may not be eventually able to carry the why of the data, then it's suggestible. It's my experience, research experience, which suggests that it's always better that you go with a semi-structured interview with the respondent, not to repeat the same questions which the researchers are already answered in the questionnaire, but trying to capture why you feel there is a difference. So something like that. So probably if your research, again, based on, I would say that what is your topic and what are your objectives, that would decide to what extent you should actually go with qualitative method. If not, there can be simple type of a research which can be, there can be uh, I just design 20 questionnaires, put them on a Likert scale of 1 to 5, and I capture all my questions probably. That's it. I may not require any additional interview to be taken.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions, or shall we close the session for the day? I believe,
I think,
yes. Dipti ma'am, so shall we close the session for the day?
sir. Now we can conclude the session.
Yes, ma'am, please. So before you say anything, ma'am, I would like to, extend a big thank you to all the participants who have contributed, who have been there in this session on this Saturday evening. Dipti ma'am, thanks to you too for conducting this session. Thanks to Ajay sir, thanks to Team RFI, everyone who is there. We have been, this is as a part of RFI, this has been our deliberations throughout, that how you can, how we can contribute something for this thing. So probably thank you everyone. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, sir.